What's going on, everyone? You're back with Jono for another quick math lesson. Today we're going to look at how to solve algebraic fractions when they're in an equation. So there's two types of these. We've got variables on the same side, where we've got to make the denominator the same in order to plus and minus them. Or we can have variables on either side of the equation, which we've got to get onto the same side so we can isolate that letter. You can have a combination of both if your teacher's trying to extend you a little bit, but if you use the tricks in this video, you're going to be totally fine. So the trick for these ones is you've got to find a common denominator. The reason I put trick in quotation marks there is because it's not really a trick, it is just what you have to do. If you are finding that a little bit difficult, I do have videos on finding common denominators. So this first example is going to have variables on the same side. We've got to collect all the like terms, and then it becomes an easy two-step equation. So in order to do this, all we've got to do is multiply both fractions by the opposite denominator. So if I multiply this first one by 4 and multiply this second one by 5, I know that I'm going to have over 20 on both sides. Instead of writing out the two fractions again next to each other, because I know I can plus them together and keep the denominator the same, I'm going to put it into one fraction straight away. If you're not okay with that, you can write it out twice. It might just take you a little bit more space on your paper. So this is going to become 4 times 3x is 12x plus 5 times x is 5x, all over 20. I haven't touched the other side yet, so I'm going to leave that as 2. Now, in order to get rid of 20 on the bottom, or divided by 20, I'm going to have to multiply both sides by that number. But in the same step, I'm also going to collect my like terms on the numerator. Again, this is just to save a little bit of space. So if I times this side by 20, times this side by 20, I'm going to be left with 12x plus 5x, which is 17x, is equal to 2 times 20, which is 40. Then to get x by itself, I've got to divide 17 by both sides. So divide by 17, which leaves me with x is equal to 40 over 17. And we can just leave it in that fraction. That's all we've got to do. So the second type of equations is where we have variables on both sides. So we've got to get them over to the same side before we can do our final equation. So these might look a little bit harder, but I actually find them a little bit easier. Instead of finding a common denominator and multiplying across in order to kind of plus and minus these together, we can just do something called cross multiply. And this is because if you just look at that left-hand side here, if I wanted to get that 7 over to the other side, I would have to multiply this by 7. But because there's a fraction on the other side, to get rid of the 3 on this side, I would have to times this side by 3. So instead of doing multiple steps kind of back and forth, all I have to do is take this 7 and multiply everything on top by 7, and take this 3 and multiply everything on the other side by 3. So what that's going to give me, if I rewrite this out, is 3 multiplied by 4x plus 2 is equal to 7 multiplied by 6x minus 5. From here, I've just got to expand and then collect my like terms. So on this left-hand side, I multiply 3 by both terms, which leaves me with 12x plus 6 is equal to 42x minus 35. You don't have to put those arrows in. I just like to make sure I don't miss anything. Now I've got to collect my x's, so I'm going to get them to the one side. I'm going to try and keep everything positive, so I'm going to minus 12x from this side and minus 12x from this side. You can move the 42 to the other side, but then you've got to deal with a negative number, and it just brings a little bit of margin for error. At the same time here, I'm going to collect my terms without a letter on the other side of the equation. So I'm going to plus 35 from this side and plus 35 from this side. So this is going to leave me with 41 is equal to 30x. To get rid of that 30x, I've got to divide both sides by 30, which leaves me with x is equal to 41 divided by 30. So if you do get a question that has algebraic fractions on both sides and two algebraic fractions as well, All you've got to do is that first example where you make the denominators the same and then cross multiply. So the skills aren't that much harder, it's just going to take you a little bit longer. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you later. Just a quick reminder, there are some free worksheets linked in the description below, as well as the notes from this video. If you've got a second, please like, comment, and subscribe to Quick Math for more content every day. Thanks so much, have a good one.